Okay, and thank you everybody so much for being with us tonight. You are here for the College App Support session covering the UC activities and awards section, okay? So this is for anybody who is working on the UC app right now, possibly even the Common App, because they do ask you about your activities, right, and your awards. And this is also going to be useful for anybody else who's in 9th, 10th, or 11th grade, just to know what's in store for you. My name is Bea. I'm here with my team, which I will be introducing shortly. So again, thank you so much for being with us this evening. So a couple housekeeping items for everybody. Just to let you know, this webinar will be recorded. So if you have to leave halfway through, don't worry about it. We're going to have it posted on our website in our webinar locker by Friday at the latest, so that you can review it in your own time. If you want to submit a question, locate the Q&A icon, typically at the bottom of your screen, and that's where you can type in your question, and somebody from our team will be able to answer it for you as we move along through tonight's webinar. Keeping in mind that I'm hopefully going to be able to answer most of your questions as we move along. Okay, so just keep that in mind, but if you do have questions, pop it into the Q&A so that we can answer them by the end of tonight. And that's about it. You are all muted. Your cameras are off. Nobody can see you. Nobody can hear you, okay? Because that's a common question that people tend to ask. And with that, let's go ahead and move on. So a little bit about who we are. Many of you probably already know who we are as a team. We're from Futureology. We're with the district and CCA, and we provide free college and career counseling to the students of Capistrano Unified School District. This is photos of all of us. My name is Bea once again. You'll see here that we have Kristen Jones, who's actually with us this evening as well, our other counselor, Jennifer Manzanares, our other counselor, Monica Cabrera, and our coordinator, Anthony Russimano, who is with us. Oh, he's in the house. There he is. And many of you, I'm sure, recognize him from his many webinars that he's held over the course of the years. Again, we provide one-on-one counseling to students and families in the areas of college and career. We also provide group workshops and events and webinars like the one that you're in right now with us. So actually, I want to ask you, just to get a sense of who's in here tonight, let me know through this poll what grade you're in. I want to get a sense of who we have with us this evening. I'm anticipating a lot of seniors. Okay, yeah, definitely seeing a lot of seniors in here, but we also have some very ambitious 10th graders and 11th graders. Nice, nice one, everybody. I love it. Okay, my friends, I'm going to close up this poll in 3, 2, and 1. Just to let you know who's in here so you can take a look. We have a whole lot of seniors in here. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that with me. I just wanted to get a sense of who you were. But just to let you know, all of our events are going to be online for this semester. So these webinars, obviously online, the one-on-one appointments that you might schedule with us will also be online, as well as our workshops and any kind of senior support that we're providing this semester. Okay, so for today, we have a pretty packed agenda. We're going to be going over UC admissions and how they evaluate students for admission. I think it's important for you to understand what they're looking for before we dive into the activities and awards section specifically. Then obviously, we're going to take a deep dive into the activities and awards section, what it's all about, what it's comprised of. Then we're going to discuss tips for you as students completing this portion or planning to if you're in 10th or 11th grade. And then we're going to take a look at some examples together, because it's probably one of the best ways for you to learn is to look at what others have done and evaluate it so that you can start evaluating what you're drafting for yourself. If you see the icon of the globe on any of the pages, that means that it is a hyperlinked resource. So at the end of the presentation today, I will be able to share with you a PDF of all of these slides, and on those slides, you'll be able to access these hyperlinked resources for you, okay? So let's go ahead and move on. So we're going to discuss the UC admissions overview process. And just to let you know, they have a comprehensive review process that we're going to discuss. And if you are also applying to schools that are on the Common App, right? So a lot of private schools and out-of-state schools might use the Common App. This is also applicable to you in that a lot of schools will include some kind of a comprehensive review process, right? Not every school, but many. And if they're asking you about clubs and activities and awards and they have personal statements on their application, you can bet that they're definitely looking at you as more than just a GPA or a test score, okay? So keep that in mind as we're looking at these. So we are not going to do a total deep dive into the comprehensive review process. I know this slide is pretty packed and it's a lot of information. I just want to give you a sense of the 14 factors that the UC system uses to evaluate students for admission into their institution. Keeping in mind that while all UCs use the comprehensive review process, each campus will actually vary as far as what they might determined to be, slightly more important or give more weight to. And that really depends on the campus and what their situation is. But they all use some form of a holistic or comprehensive review process. What do they look at, right? They look at your GPA. They look at your test scores in the past. This year for you seniors, they will not be looking at that. It's going to be either optional or blind. And that's kind of, that's a little, it's in a mercurial state right now, to use an SAT word, right? This is changing a little bit based on some stuff that's going on with the UC. So some schools are turning totally test blind. Others may be on their way to it. We're not sure. But fall 2021 students, our seniors, you don't have to worry about submitting a test. And we are going to have a testing breakout session during our college fair. If you have questions about that, save it for Anthony. He has all of your answers, I promise you. Okay, so they look at SAT scores, GPAs, your academic course load, right? How many A through G courses are you taking? Are you taking honors and AP courses, right? Are you in the top 9% of your class? And that's a number that's actually determined by the UCs in your school based on, what your school submits to the UCs at the end of 11th grade. The quality of your senior year courses, yes, this year counts. They don't see your grades before they accept you, but they certainly know what classes you're planning on taking and are currently scheduled in. So are you continuing that rigor? Are you taking AP honors classes and not, kind of trying to take it easy, if you will, right? But everybody has their reasons. So if you're not, don't beat yourself up about it. Are you taking advantage of educational opportunities that are available to you at your school, right? And this can look like a lot of different things for different students. Does your school have Avid, right? Did you take advantage of that? Or were you a part of it? And they're also looking for outstanding performance, right? Did you receive a special award for your writing abilities while you were in high school? Did you work on any special projects or an IB project perhaps for a class, right? Those are some of the things that they're looking for as well. Continuing on, because again, there are many factors involved, you'll notice here that anything in pink I want to draw your attention to, and I'll tell you why in a second. So special academic projects, right? Outstanding work in one or more special project in any academic field of study. So that can be, again, something you might have done for an AP or IB class, something that you might have initiated while you were on campus, right? It could be many different things. Academic improvement. Maybe we had a rough 9th and 10th grade year and we really brought our A game 11th grade, and all of a sudden we're in these honors classes and we're getting better grades, right? That kind of improvement is really important, and it demonstrates your ability to meet a challenge and improve, right? You saw that there was something in the way of your learning and you addressed it so that you could do better, and that's good too. Completion of special projects, right? Undertaken in the context of the student's high school curriculum or in conjunction with a special school event, right? Did you initiate something on campus? Did you start a club? Did you help with some kind of initiative on campus that was new for that year, right? And then obviously your academics within context, right? How many honors AP classes are offered at your school? Do you have a lot of resources at your school? They want to know the context of your educational setting, and also location. So you can't help that. You live where you live, but that's one of the factors that they might consider. And then finally, the 14th factor. It's a biggie, and it's literally this long when you read the description. This is straight from the UC website. Special talents, achievements, and awards. right? In a particular field, such as VPA or athletics, whatever it may be, special skills that are demonstrated, that demonstrate written or oral proficiency, right? Special interests, maybe you're super into sneakers and you buy and sell them on the side, right? That's a special interest. You demonstrate unusual promise for leadership, right? Or you demonstrate in some way, shape, or form intellectual vitality. This is all the other things. But you'll see that this guy is in pink, and the two other factors on this slide are also pink. And these are the ones that you are going to discuss in your UC activities and awards section. These are the three components that you will discuss in the activities and awards section, as well as the personal insight questions or your personal statement, right? And I've linked to some resources here so you can take a look at them and get a little bit of more guidance on your own when you're doing this stuff on your own. But just know that this is a really big component of UC admissions and college admissions if they have a comprehensive review process. The counselors on our team have been admissions readers for the UCs. We are currently or have been in the past. And so we have direct experience in evaluating students and trying to look at them from a really holistic lens. So just know that you're being evaluated as holistically as possible. So when you're presented with the opportunity to explain your life outside of your grades, please take advantage of it, right? And I know that you will because you're with me tonight, okay? But these factors are going to play into how competitive you are for admission into these institutions, okay? I'm going to take a quick pause there, and I'm going to ask if we have any questions currently, and it doesn't look like we do, so I'm going to keep moving right along, okay? Here we go. So let's talk about activities and awards. Oh, I'm going to answer this question live. How about that? So we have a question. Is this where jobs, work experience are also listed? Yes, absolutely. And we are actually going to go into that right now. Okay, so let's talk about the categories and what this thing is all about. So essentially, this is straight from the UCs, okay? The activities and awards section is where applicants share the larger story of their lives by demonstrating the hours they committed to the things that they cared about. They can also share recognition from others in the form of awards, okay? It's pretty straightforward. This is your opportunity to show them what you did. Earlier, I indicated in the subtext of my other slide is that the personal insight questions tell them who you are, and the activity and award section will really tell them what you did, right? So this is your opportunity to show them, you know, what problems you were trying to fix, what talents or strengths do you have, right? What did you bring to your campus or your community? Or maybe it was just a project just for yourself, something that you really loved and you spent a lot of time doing, right? It doesn't always have to be that you made the whole world better. It could just be that you were trying to make yourself better, right? And those things are the kinds of things that the UCs really want to know. That's why they have these questions on the application. Somebody is reading these responses. In fact, more than one person will be reviewing your application, right? So let's talk about the categories. There are 6 in total, okay? The first category we have is award or honor. That's one of the things that you can choose, right? So award or honor is pretty straightforward. Any kind of honor roll that you've received in school, really any award that you've received in school for athletics or academics counts, right? But don't forget things that are non-academic as well. Outside of school is kind of an important theme for activities and awards. It doesn't always have to be school related. This is about the greater context and story of your life. So you can just reach as far out as you want into your life outside of school. This can include not national merit, that's an academic thing, but that is through the PSAT, right? But maybe the Gold Award, right? If you're a Girl Scout, maybe Certificate of Merit if you are a piano player or a musician who participates in Certificate of Merit outside of school. So think big when you're thinking about the recognition that you have received in school and in your community. Another category that you'll be able to select from is educational prep programs, okay? So a lot of people have questions about what this is. They're like, well, what do you mean by an educational prep program? And it's anything that is going to prepare you for life at college and support you academically and that has enriched you academically, okay? So it's not necessarily always a class. right? It can be a program that you participated over winter break or spring break or summer. It could be something like Upward Bound or Gear Up or Avid. It could also be, again, summer programs like the UC Cosmos program, Johns Hopkins Engineering Innovation program that they have every summer, right? It can be a multitude of things. And it can be something that you self-directed for yourself, right? It can be something that you created for yourself and pursued to enrich yourself over the course of time. And if you want to know more about summer educational prep programs or prep programs in general, you can literally Google summer programs for high school students, and you'll see what's offered out there and what different universities offer for high school students over spring break or over the summer. And I would advise you that if you're going to look into that, choose the competitive ones. Those are the ones that are, you know, not the pay to play ones necessarily, not that those are bad, right? Where you can pay to live at a college campus and take a class. Those are still give you valuable experience, but the competitive programs that involve a personal statement and letters of recommendation and a GPA requirement, that's going to demonstrate, you know, a certain level of rigor and competitiveness that is always really helpful. So another category that you'll be able to use is extracurricular activities, and this is where a lot of you will have a lot of stuff to fill in, right? Clubs, sports, any kind of you know, instruments that you play, right? If you're a pianist or if you are a violinist or if you were in choir and now you're in madrigals, right? This really is kind of all of that stuff that you do, all the extracurriculars, what you spend your time on and dedicate your time to. And again, it can be many different things. It could also be Girl Scouts, it could be Boy Scouts, it could be involvement at your church. It could be any number of things. And the beauty of this is that you get to decide what categories each thing falls under, and there's no wrong way of doing that. And we're going to talk about that more later, okay? So going on, category number 4, other coursework. This is any course that you took that was not a college prep academic course, okay? So an A through G approved course. So some schools don't have AVID as A through G approved. Our district tends, I believe AVID is A through G approved. But what does a course that's not A through G look like? It could be a Code Academy course. You might be learning Python or JavaScript or something like that, and that actually counts as other coursework, right? So if you've ever taken something like that, that counts. If you've ever fully completed a Coursera course that's been provided through, you know, any number of the universities that participate in Coursera, that counts. Music classes outside of school, dance classes outside of school, art classes outside of school, that can count as other coursework, okay? And then we have volunteer and community service, right? That's a biggie. And another category that a lot of students tend to have experience in, but not everybody. And this volunteer work can really be anything. It's not just necessarily like we think of like beach cleanups and like, you know, working with homeless shelters and food banks and stuff like that, but it could also be free tutoring that you provided, right? Or tutoring that you provided through CSF or Honor Society. It could be that you created a recycling program on your block because for some reason there's not a recycling program for glass on your block and you decided to take the initiative just to collect everybody's bottles once a week and drop it off for them, right? That can count as volunteer or community service. You did something to make your community better. Work experience, all right? This is the question earlier. Yes, this is where we include work experience, okay? And this is important for them to know because you're balancing work on top of school, right? And that's important for a reader to understand. Again, this is all about understanding your context. So if you had a job, whether it was paid or not, even if you worked for your family, you know, over the course of every summer, dedicating time to assisting your family business, that counts as work. Babysitting counts as work. In and out counts as work. Helping your dad with his business over the summers, you know, maybe helping him market on social media, that counts as work, okay? So keep that in mind. So I've been missing my polls. So sorry about that. I'm gonna poll you guys. I wanna ask, this is the question, volunteer and community service is one of the most important activities that you can possibly fill out, okay? So volunteering and community service is one of the most important activities. All right, results are coming in. give you guys about 5 more seconds, and then I'll publish this. Okay, all right. Closing it up in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, thank you for your participation in that. These are the results. The majority of you indicated that that's true. And in actuality, it's not. There's not one. I said it's a biggie, so I might have deceived you. I'm sorry about that. I just meant that a lot of people have volunteer work. There is no one category that is more important than another category, okay? So just remember that as you're trying to fill this out. This is not a system we're trying to game. There's no formula as to what is better than another, right? It's just what you've done. And every single thing that you've done is important to them at the UC. It is important to us as readers, right? As past readers. And so just understand that, you know, there's no favored category per the UCs. They have indicated this. There's no favored category. I almost want to go back to my other poll if I had one. Nope, I didn't, you guys. Okay, we're right on track with those polls. Let's move on. So those were our 6 categories. Okay, you see them right here again on that drop down. I'm sorry it's a little bit blurry. Awards and honors, educational prep, extracurriculars, other coursework, volunteer, work experience. And now you know these are the categories you can put your activities into, okay? So you have 20 slots on your UC application, 20 slots, and you can categorize them however you want to describe your life outside of school or what you've done in school, right? So I'm going to poll you again, and I want your opinion on this. It's important to fill as many slots as possible. Okay, so you have 20 slots, so it's important to fill in as many slots as you can. 20 if you can. Okay. All right. Okay, this is a little bit more head-to-head right here. Is that the expression? Okay, I'm going to close up this poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Thank you. Okay, so let's look at these results. False was the more popular answer by a smidge, and you guys are right. Yes, that is false. Okay, so it is not. Did I close the poll? Let me just make sure. There we go. Let's get that out of your way. It's not important to fill in every single slot. This is all about what? It's about quality over quantity. That kind of applies to almost everything in life, right? Quality over quantity. So if you have 4 solid things that really demonstrate what you love and what you care about outside of school, good for you. Like, write proudly about those items and move on, right? You don't have to hunt for things to say. Just state what is important to you and what you spent your time on, okay? But again, they have no preference, and they have no preference as to what order you list your activities, okay? So some people might feel that they want to highlight their most impressive activities at the top and then kind of go down from there, right? And here's the thing, if that's important to you, or if you really want to highlight something at the top, or if you really want to show a certain progression and tell a story just by the way you list your activities, by all means, go for it, that's fine. It's not a requirement, and nobody is going to judge you either way based on the order of your activities, because guess what? We're going to read every single one, right? So however you decide to order your activities is up to you. Just know that once you start entering them in, you can't reorganize them afterwards. So before you start entering in these activities, you'll want to have them pre-ordered on another document before hand entering in each one, okay? But just keep in mind that you can't change the order once they're in there. But again, order doesn't matter, okay? Another thing that you should know is that we don't want you to repeat entries, even if it could technically fall into multiple categories, right? CSF is a really good example of that, because it's like it's an academic acknowledgement and recognition, right? It's an organization that you're a part of, but it also involves a community service. So what does it go under? That's entirely up to you. Maybe your list already has a lot of extracurriculars and awards, so maybe you want to fill it in as community service, right? you could do that if you wanted to. That's perfectly fine. But just pick a category and stick to that. Don't double dip, right? Don't put CSF under community service and then don't list it again as an extracurricular or an award or honor, okay? We don't need to do that, and they've given you more characters than they used to in the past to explain it in more depth, okay? So just keep that in mind. How are we doing with the Q&A, everybody? Are we good? Did we get some of these answered by any chance? I'm just going to take a look at some of these questions. If you have more than 20, can you combine them? I don't know if that was answered already, but just to let you know.
Yeah, that we didn't answer that yet. I was going to say, oh, let's talk about it. I thought it was a good one.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Anthony, do you have
well,
an opinion?
I remember one senior I was recently working with, and they were listing a few different jobs, and the jobs were all sales related jobs. Instead of listing 4 jobs, we decided to make it kind of combine all those jobs and put 3 things under there. I worked at Starbucks and I worked at, so it's kind of more sales and retail job. And so it's, again, it's not about quantity that we're talking about. It's, you know, what are the experiences and the skills you're gaining from, for this person in this particular case was they're doing the same type of job, or the same, let's say you're volunteering and you do a lot of helping of kids, and you have too many things. Well, you can put all 3 of those under one category, and you can name it as such, as, you know, child care worker, and put those 3 different groups or companies that you work for in the activity, and now they're all under one thing. So look to combine things if you have too many, and if they all have a similar trend. So I would say, you know, if you have 20, that's quite a bit. Sometimes that doesn't look good when you have too many, when you're not, you know, again, what's the commitment of those 20? Maybe you really only should have 15, or maybe the 20 is really only 10 if you combine those, combine like terms in that sense. So that requires some strategy on your part to really see and kind of put them together. Don't just list everything. See if there are similarities between them, and then categorize appropriately.
Yeah,
So.
thank you, Anthony. I agree completely. So I hope that answers your question. Another question that we have is, how do you know if something is worth putting on your list? That's a good question. Did it matter to you, right? Like, was it something that actually mattered to you and that you worked on and that you had a special role in, right? Was it a one-day beach cleanup where you showed up at Bolsa Chica and cleaned up the beach for an hour? Or was it, you know, a steady commitment of going there every single week and organizing a group of, you know, 2 or more students to do it? That's a decision that you make as far as what you think belongs. If it gives context into your life outside of school, I say put it on, right? Unless you don't have enough space. But if it's something that you spent a significant amount of time on, or you know, time on that mattered to you, you can add it to the activities and awards. Remember that the comprehensive review process is additive. And what does that mean? It means that we are looking for reasons as readers to admit to you. We are not looking for reasons to deny you. So anything that you provide to us as far as information goes can only be used to add to the reasons we would want to admit you into our school. So, you know, when in doubt, if there's something that you're like, oh, should I add it or not? Like, you can add it if you have the space, as long as you can describe it adequately and describe what your role was in that activity, okay? So I'm going to pause here so we can move on, and I promise you, we're going to get to the rest of your questions throughout the presentation, and at the end, I'm going to stick around, so don't worry, okay, if your question hasn't been answered yet. So let's go ahead and move on, and we will get to your questions, but these are some good questions so far. Okay, so when it comes to writing in your activity in the description, you have 60 characters in the title, and you have 350 characters in the description itself. This has actually been taken down a bit from years previous to this, but even before then it was 160 characters. It got bumped up to 500, and now we're at 350. Still an improvement from 160. Let me tell you, those days are hard to have to squeeze everything into a few sentences. But title is 60 characters. If you can squeeze your role or position in the title just to give yourself some more room to write, that's totally cool. Go for it. Full sentences are not required. This is not a place for you to demonstrate your mastery with the English language. It does not have to be beautifully crafted as far as like how you tell, you know, the story of this activity, right? Obviously, we want you to use good action verbs. We want you to use words that, you know, that are meaningful and that can really paint a good picture. You know, instead of saying, you know, that you were in charge of, you know, getting students into your classroom for tutoring, you can say something like, I facilitated tutoring hours for so-and-so, right? We're using resume action verbs, which I'll provide to you as a link on the slide when you receive it, okay? But we want to use those kind of verbs. You want to focus on your role and responsibility, your role and responsibility, not the organization. We don't want to see the majority of your description focused on the organization and what the organization has accomplished, right? We want to know what you did. So of course, tell us about what it is, because we need to know what the activity or organization was, or the award was or is, but we want to know what you had to do with it. What was your role, right? What did you do? What was your impact? That's one of the most important things about the description, and a thing that students often do incorrectly is they focus on the organization. So make sure that you're focusing on your role, right? And if you have more to say about something that you're super passionate about, this can carry over into your personal insight questions if it's a really huge part of your identity. So let's go to our next poll. Let's go to our next poll, and that is, should you use all three, or you should use, true or false, you should try to use all 350 characters to really try to explain what the heck it is that you did. What do you guys think? Okay, all right. I think we're catching on here. Let's close up the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, I'm gonna share the results. False, that is correct. You do not have to use all 350 characters, right? You can definitely be succinct and describe something, which we'll see in the examples later on, without using all 350 characters. Absolutely. Okay, and you're going to be asked on the application, right? How many years you participated in this activity or received this award, and the average amount of hours that you spent, right? Hours per week, weeks per year. Obviously, there's some things that we don't do every single week, right? And consistently throughout the year. And so this is left to you to estimate. You estimate. You use, you know, you can tally up the amount of time you dedicated to it and then average it out that way. Keeping in mind that you will be signing a statement of integrity, right? When you submit your application for the UCs, you are saying that everything that you are sharing on this application is true. And you, just to let you know, students are reviewed and randomly chosen for verification, okay? Not everybody, but students every single year will be chosen for verification, and they will be asked to prove their involvement in certain organizations, et cetera, okay? I am sure that all of you are going to be truthful, but I want you to be aware of that. So we're not going to try to inflate things or hours or time spent, right? We just want to average it out, right? Just kind of think about it, average it out, and then you're gonna indicate that on your application. Keep in mind that that button, that option that says after 12th grade, that's not going to apply to any of you as high school students, because this is meant for students who took a gap year after they graduated from high school and continued on with something after that. So again, this is not applicable to you right now, because you're applying in theory for seniors to go for fall of 2021, okay? But just something to note. So those are just the basics of what it's going to look like, okay, and what to expect. Let's talk about COVID for a second, because how can we not? I'm sure you're sick of it at this point, but let's talk about it. So just remember that you are evaluated within your own context, okay? Everybody has their own story. Everybody has their own unique circumstances, struggles, what have you. And just know that whatever you experienced or didn't experience, it's you being evaluated within your own bubble, okay? So keep that in mind. They are not going to penalize you for not having activities when all of this came to be in the spring. And even right now, when you're limited as far as what you can do, that's not your fault, right? A lot of you have had to miss out on a lot of opportunities. A lot of you were admitted into programs for the summer and couldn't attend because of COVID. That you're going to mention in additional comments, okay? That is the space for you to do that, is if you actually were chosen to be part of an exclusive activity over the summer, or you qualified for a program or a camp at a college or some kind of institution, but they canceled it, you don't put it in your activities and awards because you actually didn't do it, but you do mention it in additional comments. That is where you're going to describe your context and your obstacles as it relates to COVID, right? And as it relates to activities that were canceled as a result of COVID. That is where you would put that information in, okay? Because some of you had new responsibilities at home, and you just couldn't actually do some of the things that maybe were available to you. Whatever the situation may be, the additional comments portion of your application is a great way for you to let them know anything they need to know about your life in the age of COVID, okay? If it impacted you, you can express that in that section so that they have full context. We don't want to leave them with any questions, right? So you just answer all their questions for them throughout your application. But just know and rest assured that admissions readers know that this has been a very difficult time for you, especially now, you as seniors, and they're not going to ding you for not having a ton of activities as you wrapped up your junior year going into senior year. So let's break it down. 6 categories, right? We discussed them earlier. 6 categories: awards and honors, educational prep programs, coursework other than A through G, extracurriculars, volunteer, and work experience. I can't believe I actually remembered all of them and did them without repeating myself. It's 6 categories that you have to choose from. 20 slots on the application that you can use to describe your activities and awards and honors. 350 characters that you have to describe each activity or award. You want to focus on your role and impact. You don't have to fill all 20 slots, and you decide which activity falls under what category, okay? So let's talk about some tips and recommendations for you as you continue writing your descriptions or begin to write them or plan to write them for my 10th and 11th graders. So what they want to see is a demonstration of commitment, okay? Were you committed to something? Were you passionate about something, and did you just kind of like go for it over high school? Was it engineering? Was it, you know, were you a total sneakerhead and literally like going places, buying like exclusive Nikes and selling them on eBay? I've actually met students who have done that. That's cool. And if you did that all through high school, that's the commitment to your entrepreneurial spirit, right? Were you involved in the activity before high school? This is a big question. So maybe you did something and you've been doing it since you were like 6, right? Maybe you're a gymnast. Or you've been playing football or baseball since you were just teeny tiny. This is a great opportunity for you to tell them that, right? Because you only have the option of checking off 9, 10, 11, 12 on the app. But if they need to know that this has been your life and your identity, then this is the place to do it. Say that I've been doing this since I was 6 years old, since I could walk, right? Whatever it may be. And were there opportunities for growth and leadership as you kind of made your way through these activities or were recognized for your accomplishment, right? But mainly in your involvement in organizations, did you grow within that organization? Did you get promoted to something, right? Did you have, you know, a consistent, this is something I want you to think about, because some of you might be thinking, oh crap, like I don't have a lot of like demonstrated commitment over the last 3 years that I think I can think of. I've done a lot of different things, but not like the same kind of thing, right? And that might worry some of you. But maybe you had a consistent role across all of these different things. Maybe you were the social media manager for the beach cleanup. Maybe you're the social media manager for CSF after school tutoring. Maybe you were the high school athletics Instagram account manager, right? That's a common thread. So I want you to sit back and think after tonight, if you have a varied history of like involvement, did you have a consistent role? Because that's still a demonstration of your commitment to kind of your strengths, right? And what you are really talented in. And that might be social media. That might be just organizing people. Whatever it may be, just know that you can look at it through that lens as well. But consistency and commitment are really valuable to the UCs. And this is going to be really important for you 10th and 11th graders who are here with us tonight. So just keep that in mind. They want to see you demonstrate leadership, okay? And leadership looks different for everybody. When we think of leader, what do we think of? We think of class presidents or presidents of clubs or founders of clubs, right? And that's kind of what we limit our definition of leader to, but it's not the case. And you can be, you can widen your lens when it comes to thinking about your role as a leader. I have here a photo of some students running some kind of an election, right? These students might not be the president of the ASB running the election, but maybe the student in the black is the one that organized the entire election day. Maybe he's the one that organized the direction or the directions for how they wanted the decorations put up, who was running what, who was running security outside, whatever it may be. He led. He might not have an official role within ASAB, but he certainly led that initiative for the election, right? And so when you think of yourself in that context, right? Like, when did I lead like 2 or more people, right? When did I organize or facilitate something? That can count as leadership as well. So just give yourself some grace as you think about that, because I'm sure that you've all had experience to some degree in helping to kind of guide others in some way, shape, or form. So keep that in mind, but again, it looks different for everybody. You also want to be able to quantify and measure in your description. What does that mean? This quantifying and measuring your tangible impact and results is what gives context to the thing that you did, okay? So let me give you an example. I have a photo here of a congressional art competition. I took this off of a website and it lists some of the winners, right? So if you won a congressional art competition, what you would want to indicate is how much time did you dedicate to creating this piece of art, if you will, right? Was this a school-wide competition? Was it a city-wide competition? Was it state, national, international, right? You want to indicate the scope of the activity in and of itself, right? And you want to discuss the impact of your work, right? Who did it impact? If you, in the case of the award, right? Maybe how many people entered the competition? Maybe it was out of 10,000 people who entered the competition, but maybe only 20 were awarded something. You want to give them those numbers so that they can start determining and figuring out for themselves, or not figuring out themselves, but just understanding the context of that activity or that award, right? So if you have numbers, show them, tell them. They want to know the impact in tangible ways, okay? And try to avoid extreme language, right? So we might not want to say that we helped to end poverty for all people in need, because that's very extreme, right? But we could say instead something like, I did so-and-so to address the issue of poverty within my community, right? That's not a super extreme hyperbolic statement. We want to stay away from that, okay? So keep that in mind as well as you're writing your descriptions. But you definitely want to give them context and give them numbers. For example, if you're an athlete and you want to express to them like the dedication on a weekly basis that you put in, you can say, I practiced for 30 hours and spent 6 hours traveling to competitions and games every week. Those are numbers you want to include so that they can get full context into your life outside of school, on top of all the academics that you're juggling as well. Okay, so keep that in mind. Those are some very important factors as we consider how to write your descriptions and what readers are looking for. So let's go over some examples together. You're going to be a reader right now with me, and you're going to help me determine if these examples are adding value to a student's application or if it's somehow a missed opportunity. Keep in mind that the examples we're going to look at, we're not judging them as far as whether or not they're good activities or good awards, right? I don't care about that. I want to focus on the description. I want us to read the description together and determine, whoa, like this helped, like, wow, this helped a lot. Or it's kind of like, man, like you did not provide enough detail for me. Okay, so let's take a look at example number 1. I'm going to read it out loud to you, the description for the student. The activity is farm work. Okay, cool. Length of involvement, 9th through 11th grade, 25 hours a week, 50 weeks a year. So this is a pretty heavy time commitment. So description, helped with my father's business since he's a sole employee. I started helping in the 6th grade, worked moving produce, selling produce, and planting seeds after school and on the weekends. The farm business was shut down before 12th grade. This is 238 characters. Okay, another example of not using the full 350. So what do you think? Let's get your opinion on this. Value added, or was this a missed opportunity for the student? Okay, all right. All right, 5 more seconds. Your best guess. 4, 3, 2, 1. I like to count down because I hate having things just shut off on me. So a lot of us said value added, and I would agree with you. Value added. So let's talk about why value added, okay? This is a really good example of work. The student shows family responsibility for one, right? His dad was the sole employee and he showed a dedication. And not only did he show dedication, he showed a strong level of commitment over time. He's been doing this since before 9th grade, right? So we have a lot of context. We're like, man, he's helping his dad in addition to, I'm assuming it's a he, it might not be, but he's dedicating all of this time, and a lot of it, like 25 hours a week for a student, almost year round, is a lot to commit on top of juggling school. And we also understand why he didn't do it in 12th grade, because the business was shut down before 12th grade, right? So that's why he only did it from 9th through 11th grade. So this is an example of value added, okay? So now we're starting to understand and see what a good description might look like. So whether or not you answered correctly doesn't really matter. We're starting to learn what the UCs are looking for, and that is the point. Let's look at example number 2. So this is an honor or award. It's the Senior of the Month Award, September 2019. Cool, really descriptive. Senior of the Month Award recognizes seniors for all-around achievement, recognized for my achievement of straight A's throughout high school in all available honors and AP courses, my contributions as ASB president, mock trial co-captain, CSF president, and involvement in many other clubs and activities on campus. Cool, all right. So let's see what we think as a group. Once again, value added or a missed opportunity for this award. Okay, all right. Ending polling in 5, 4, 3, 2. Some people are changing their minds. And 1. All right, let's take a look at what you said. Value added, once again, that's the majority of you, and I would agree. Yes, this is value added. So why, again, is it value added? Okay, this is a good example of an award that was received. The student offers a very clear description of the award. And remember, you don't want to assume that the readers know about your school or about what Senior of the Month is. You can't assume that they know, and they're actually trained not to assume anything. So if you don't tell them, they're not going to know, right? And so this student explained what Student of the Month was, who gets it, right? And they were descriptive in that regard. And then they spent the rest of the description indicating why they got it. They provided quantifiable measures. And the student actually went on to describe these other activities in their other activities and awards, right? Mock trial, ASB president, all that stuff. That was listed in the other categories for the rest of that student's list. So it provided a lot of information, and it really took something like Senior of the Month, right? And gave it really rich context and a really rich description, in my opinion, right? Because something like Senior of the Month or even Principal's Honor Roll or Honor Roll, we're kind of like, well, what can we say about that really? Well, it's like, you can say a lot. You can actually say a lot, like how many students at your school are getting it? What's the GPA requirement? Man, I maintain this GPA in addition to being on, lacrosse, or in addition to pursuing a community college class at Saddleback, right? And so there are definitely ways for you to give them an idea of the importance of that award or activity. And it's your job to give them that context. Cool, moving on. Example number 3, this is an extracurricular activity, and it's the Olympic Development Program. And the description is, I've completed with the best of the US and got to the top. Also making the tiny cuts to get to the very top were very awarding. 126 characters, okay? So let me share this poll and let's see what you think. Go ahead and let me know what you think. Is this a missed opportunity or is this value added? All right. Okay. All right, I'm going to close this up in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. Overwhelmingly, we decided that it was a missed opportunity, and I would have to agree with you that it is a missed opportunity. So why was it a missed opportunity? I think I mean, it's impressive, right? It sounds impressive, at least. I've competed with the best of the US. Man, well, what is the best of the US? No idea. No idea even what sport or like what discipline this is. And that's a problem because we don't know what the student is talking about. And we can't assume that the reader is going to know what Olympic development program is, right? So that's one area where we could improve, is at least telling them a little bit about the program and what sport or what activity it is that they did to earn them this privilege of competing with the best of the US, or competing with the best of the US in this program. What are tiny cuts? Also, making the tiny cuts to get to the very top were very rewarding. Man, well, what were those cuts? Were those weight cuts? Were they like, I don't know, I have so many questions, right? And you don't want to leave your reader with questions. I have questions, lots of them. And so when you're writing your descriptions, make sure that, you're answering it as comprehensively as you can. And this one could have been more rich, and it could have given them a better idea of what the student did. Because it sounds pretty impressive, but we just don't know enough, and we can't assume. Okay, example number 4. We have this one and another one, and we're done. Volunteer community service, elementary tutor. Cool. As co-president in senior year, I organized a tutoring program with a local elementary school for at-risk 4th and 5th graders. I found and trained 25 tutors this year. This consisted of interviewing other students and making a week-long training program. All right, so let's see where we're at for this. Example number 4, what do you think? Value added or a missed opportunity? Okay. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Value added is what a lot of us are saying, and I agree. Value added indeed. Why value added, right? They demonstrated leadership, and there are clear examples of the students' roles and responsibilities. There is succinct detail of their involvement and the scope of the program, and what they did is measurable. We have numbers, right? We know what kind of students the student was serving as a tutor. We know that they trained 25 tutors that year. That's pretty impressive, right? That just gives us an idea of the scope. So this is a really nice example because they give really good detail. And again, it was 263 characters. You have 350. This is a really good example of a succinct response that can really drive home an activity without having to use all of the characters available to them. But again, we like those numbers, right? We like knowing who they actually impacted, which was local elementary school students in the 4th and 5th grade, and they were at-risk students. Good to know, instead of just students, right? So you're leaving no stone unturned and answering those questions. Okay, final example. This is an educational prep program. This is MESA. And the description is, being a part of the MESA program has been a great experience. MESA students are able to discuss with each other and come up with ideas that will help our project. 161 characters. Final poll for you. What do we think? Value added or a missed opportunity? Okay, all right. Looks like we're more on the same page about this than we have been so far. Nice, interesting, okay. I'm gonna shut this down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, here are the results. Unanimous, missed opportunity. All right. Okay, so why missed opportunity? Well, it's not clear what the student's role or responsibility was, right? It's good to know what they did in MESA, right? Did they have an opportunity to guide other students or to grow in any way, shape, or form? Did they work on anything special to them, a project that was really meaningful to them? We don't know any of that. We just kind of know that they were a part of it. So we have questions, right? Why didn't they continue the program into senior year? Because as you can see, the years involved for 10th and 11th grade. Well, why didn't you do it 12th grade? You didn't explain why. Maybe the class was canceled. Who knows, right? Maybe the student had too much to do outside of school and couldn't commit to being in Mesa in 12th grade. What did they gain from the experience? We don't know really. It's kind of vague. And what did they do, like actually do, again, in the program? Like I said earlier, we want to know what they gained from it, if there is anything unique to their participation and their role within Mesa, and they just didn't take advantage of that opportunity to explain. So missed opportunity. Really good. I think we've been kind of on the same page for most of these, so that's really good, and hopefully that gave you some context into what it looks like, right? And again, those are just examples, and everybody's is going to be different. Okay, so let's talk about some top mistakes that are made by students. The first one being that they leave the entire section blank. They leave all of activities and awards blank. And apparently this happens a lot. Students will just glaze right over it and be like, I didn't really do anything, and they'll just move on. Not keeping in mind that there are many things that can be mentioned that are non-traditional, like being a caretaker at home, having younger siblings that you have to manage after school because your parents are working, or your parent is working, or your guardian is working, right? Maybe you're in high school and you have a sibling in middle school and a sibling in elementary school, and you have to get them settled. You have to pick them up from school. That is something that you can mention on your activities and awards. That's something that you had to spend time doing in addition to balancing schoolwork and everything else, right? Maybe you were a caretaker for a family member, a parent, or a guardian, right? Those things count as well. So think of those non-traditional things that you do. Maybe you're an avid rock collector, or a stamp collector, or a coin collector, right? Those things also count. We're talking hobbies, passions, interests. It doesn't have to be affiliated with an official organization for you to mention it. If you don't fill this out, it is a missed opportunity altogether for you. They're not asking you these questions, to make their lives more complicated. They're asking you because they really want to know about you and the bigger story that, kind of encapsulates you as a student and as a person. So please, whatever you do, fill this portion in with the things that you've dedicated your time to in school and out of school. They assume, another mistake is that the reader knows the activity. We talked about this earlier, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but don't assume that they know what the organization is. Don't use acronyms, right? Like the Youth Action Team is really popular, but students will call it YAT, and the admissions reader will have no idea what YAT is. Don't assume that they know, okay? Students are often unaware of the importance of the section. So this is why we went over the comprehensive review section, or comprehensive review process at the beginning of this webinar, was for you to understand the importance of the activities and awards section, and also the personal insight questions, right? This is giving the readers such context and depth into your life, and a better idea of who you are as a person. We just want to know what you care about. We want to know what you really love to do, what you're really good at. These are all things that we want to know so that we can decide, man, do we want this kind of person on campus? Like, a good description will really add value to your overall application. Another mistake is students talking more about an activity than themselves. We talked about this. And this becomes an issue a lot when, let's say, you're part of an organization that wins like a championship, right? And so as a team, collectively, that's amazing. And you got to, nationals, or, you're a finalist in something as a team. So that's good, and you can mention that, but you want to focus your description on your specific role in helping to achieve that goal, okay? We need to bring it back to you at all times. Don't spend time bragging about everybody else and about something bigger. Spend that time talking about yourself and what you did, okay? This is like a resume. You want to highlight what you did, what your roles and responsibilities were. And finally, another mistake that students often make is that there's no clarity on their roles and responsibilities. So it's kind of like that Mesa example that we looked at. That student didn't tell us what they did. They didn't tell us what they learned. They didn't tell us, what they were responsible for within Mesa. And so we are left with a lot of questions. And that's the name of the game, is don't leave them with any questions, okay? So we are coming towards the end of the webinar, and I thank you for your patience because we are 1 minute over. But what now? Okay, we have 10th, 11th, and 12th graders in here with us right now. What now? First of all, the fall 2021 admission application filing period is November 1st through November 30th. So yes, the UC app is open. You can't submit until November 1st. You've got some time to craft some descriptions. Cool, right? But just keep that deadline in the back of your head. Same applies for the Cal States, but they don't have any of this stuff really. So you're in the clear there. Don't forget to attend our webinar on the Cal State application if you're applying. That's going to be in a couple of weeks, so don't miss out. Or maybe next week. I'm going to ask Kristen for clarification in a minute. So what now? What do we do now? We're going to create a doc. Many of you probably already have this. Microsoft Word, Google Docs, whatever you want to use. You're going to create a Word doc so that it's easy for you to track your characters by doing a word count, right? And then seeing the characters. You're going to list your awards and activities in any way that you want. Just start typing them out, whatever you can think of. If you need help, ask the people that know you best. Ask your best friend, your sibling, a parent, a grandparent, somebody who knows you well, because oftentimes they know things that you do that you just blank on. Because when we're asked about ourselves, some of us totally clam up, right? So list out your awards and start writing down the hours a week, weeks a year. We want this information ready to go, so this is a start, right? So once you have that, you're going to start drafting your descriptions. You have 350 characters per description for the UCs. If we're talking about Common App, those are 150 characters. Quite short. Start with your long version. When you're done with those, you can start abbreviating them to 150 for the Common App, keeping in mind that Common App only has room for 10 activities and 5 awards, okay? So you're going to have to pick and choose for the Common App. But the important part is that you have a document going and you start drafting your responses, keeping track of the characters. And once you're done with that, it is as simple as copying and pasting into your application. And I have to tell you, for the 50-something of you in here with me right now, okay, is that you are doing yourself a total solid by being here talking about this and drafting your responses. Because I can tell you that most students will not even know about the activities and awards section until they fill out the application. And oftentimes students will literally just sit there on the spot and start typing things out and just giving these rando descriptions. And just based on being a reader myself and reading applications, that happens a lot. And you can tell that students just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. Like, what did I do? And then they'll just start putting in random stuff. And so you having, you know, these weeks leading up to November 30th to do this is going to be really good for you. Ask, you know, people to look at your descriptions if you need some help. And again, you'll have the recording of this presentation. You'll have a copy of the slides with some resources to help you write to your responses, and hopefully that will help you as well. Some final thoughts as we finish up for this evening. Please attend our college fair, all of you, 10th, 11th, 12th, anybody, parents, students, whoever. We have worked really hard on putting this together, and we're going to have over 170 reps who will dedicate time to sit in their Zoom rooms and wait for you to hop in to talk to them. And we're going to provide links. You just have to register in advance for the table visits. We're going to have a live college showcase where 80 schools total will be presenting back to back to let you know about their school so that you can learn rapid fire about the vast opportunities that exist in this country for you as far as colleges go. And then we're going to have a ton of breakout sessions for the rest of that week, the October 13th through 15th. And again, you register for all of these. There are all sorts of different topics that we're going to be discussing, and none of these things will overlap. So you can literally attend everything, which is different from our typical college fair, right, where you have to pick and choose. We are really trying to make it easy for you, and we want you to take advantage of this and explore as much as you can. So please attend. If you can, we would love it, appreciate it if you could complete this post survey so that we know how to best shape our program in the future for you. You can scan this with your phone and do it later. That's totally cool. You don't have to do it now. You can also complete it. I'll send you a link in the old chat box as well, if you can access that. I'm not sure if you can. But if you can complete that, I'd greatly appreciate it. Credit goes to the UCs. This is information that they provided to counselors during our conference. So thank you to the UCs for, you know, helping us to guide you. And thank you for my teammates tonight, Anthony, Kristen, and Monica, for answering the questions and being so amazing about that. With that, I want to thank you for being with us. I'm going to hang back with the team to answer questions. So feel free to fire away and we'll get to your questions. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Great job, B. I think it might have been easier to present. I feel like I wasn't stopping. They had so many questions. So great job, everybody.
Yeah,
Great questions, really thinking about what you're doing activity-wise and how it all relates. And so keep it up, and it's just your start. Now it's time, as B mentioned, to start writing them down. Try seeing if they should be combined and what categories they would fit. So it sounds like a lot of you are doing that while she was speaking. So you just got to keep it up. Does this go here? How does this sound? Is that a value add? So
right.
Kristen and Monica did a great job answering your questions. If
Yes.
you do have more, our general email, you can either reach out to us individually or our general email. I'm going to put it in the chat box again. It's CUSD-Futureology at capousd.org. Just send it there. If you even want to just send a quick write-up of a particular activity, how does this sound? We can probably give you feedback real quickly. Don't give us like 100 of them, but if you give us
Yeah.
1 or 2, that might be nice. So it's
And
coming in the chat.
Kristen
So
answered Jonathan's question. He's a martial artist, and it was already answered. Jonathan asked if your activity is all encompassing and you're just fully in there, you're teaching, you're dedicating your life to it, then yes, you want to give them those numbers, like Kristen said in her answer. And I'm a martial artist as well, Jonathan. So like, yay, good for you. I love it.
also
Let's
saw a
answer some.
swordsman in there.
Ooh,
Yeah, we got a lot of people with lots of cool activities. I was really
I,
curious with a ton of those things that you guys were talking about. Like, oh, would this count? I'm like, that's so cool. I don't know anybody who does that. So
yes,
again, it might seem, like, that's not that great, but on the grand scheme of it, some of the things you guys have been talking about are really unique to you. And so this is your opportunity to really express yourself. And as you saw in a lot of our answers, you can also mention in your PIQs that the activity section and the PIQs, they are nice opportunities for you to expand in one way or another. Get really, you show your emotions in your PIQs, or how it impacted you, or even in the activity section. You don't just have to say, I worked 25 hours at the store and that's all it did. Well, no, I really enjoyed customer service, or
yeah,
whatever it may be. And that's again, your opportunity. It doesn't have to be cut and dry. You can
right.
really dig a little bit deeper in both of those. And especially during this COVID time, they're really looking at everything. The PIQs become more important because they want to know what you're really thinking. That's the insight part of it. So
Absolutely.
again, thank you, B, and thank you, Monica and Kristen, for a lot of the great answers, and for you guys for engaging tonight. So
Absolutely. So Jack has a question about CTE. So here's the thing, Jack. So the CTE classes you're taking, if you're taking, for example, a CCA class, those are typically A through G approved. So you're going to actually list that as an A through G approved course that you took. But if you took a series, right, let's say you took the fire science course and the paramedic EMT course, right, and you become a pathway completer and you finish that pathway, you can actually mention that. I would be open to you mentioning that as an educational prep program, is that you completed a pathway in the CTE program, and that involved dedication over time and possibly internship hours and all of that stuff. So hopefully that answers your question. Is that the classes themselves would go under your reported coursework in high school, okay? Or if it was an articulated or concurrent enrollment course, it would go into your college coursework. But otherwise, the pathway completion, you can discuss in educational prep, yes. Yeah, super cool. Nice, Jack. Good work. I'm so impressed by everybody in this district. Everybody is up to some pretty cool stuff. All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording, but I'm going to hang back. Thank you, everybody, for attending tonight.